welcome to Buck. Before we deep dive into the app, I very want to give a very brief overview of the context and our motivation behind this. So India has one of the lowest investment rates to GDP ratio in the world, even though we have a very big middle class. And the primary reason for that is while functional needs of investing and saving have been solved for, the behavioral needs of the user have not been solved for. So that is what we are trying to do with Buck. More specifically, the finance is simple. It's just about living below your means, investing for the long term, and accepting volatility. But it's not easy. Our inherent biases make it difficult. And with Buck, our idea is to leverage those biases for the good of the user rather than letting them hamper the user's financial behavior. So Buck actually is customized for different kinds of users depending on the financial history of the user, which we obtain from the account aggregators. Using the account aggregator framework, we actually customize the app. But so let's see how Buck looks for two kinds of users. I'll start with Chaitanya. And first we'll go and obtain the permission from Chaitanya's account aggregator, which is FinView. So if we go to FinView, we've sent the request from Buck. We go to FinView and we enter Chaitanya. FinView 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. So and next, and confirm your concern will be logged out of the application. Then I'll go back. Now what you see is the home screen for a person called Chaitanya. And Chaitanya has been working for the last 7 years. We're using account aggregator framework. We've connected to all of Chaitanya's bank accounts and got all the details of his income, his expenses, his savings, his investments, etc. And we've calculated his buck worth. Now, what do we mean by buck worth? So we felt net worth is not a great measure of a person's financial well-being. Instead, we came up with buck worth, which measures his journey towards financial independence. How far is he along in that journey? What we've realized after talking to multiple users is financial independence is something that is common across most of our target group, which is young millennials. So we came up with a proprietary algorithm of calculating how far everybody is there, depending on based on their financial history, their spending habits, their income probability, etc., etc. Now, once he sees his buck worth, Chaitanya goes on to see what his buck worth could have been had he had good financial habits. What are those good financial habits? We show Chaitanya depending on what we get from his, depending on his data. For example, he's done a good job with spending, but he's done a very bad job with investments. And because of his habits, he lost 22 lakhs. He's lost 22 lakhs compared to where he could have been. This is where we are using the user's loss aversion bias for the benefit of the user, for him to get better financial habits. Then the last tab is actually encouraging him to take the action right now. Again, framing the decision in such a way so that he does not fall prey to status quo bias, where he says, I'll start investing later, I'll change my financial habits later. Saying that, you know what, if you don't change now, by the time you retire, you would have lost 60,000 for all these additional months you would have worked, because that's how compound interest works. At any point in time, Chaitanya can just click on a button to see, hey, what are the things I should do? How should I change? Like, we don't want to overwhelm the user with 20 things. Instead, we want to give them 3 simple things that they can take away. Because Chaitanya is already saving well but not investing. In his case, it's just buying a life cover, starting an SIP in an index fund, and planning for next goals. Now let's look at the case of Sridhar, who earns as much as Chaitanya but does not save at all. We are seeing the home screen for Sridhar now, whose buck worth is 15. So Sridhar is a person who has continuously spent a lot. So his dashboard would be different from what we've seen from Chaitanya. For example, his buck worth is different, his opportunity cost would be different, and if we go down his memory lane, we will see that he spent 38% on discretionary income. We see that his opportunity cost was higher than Chaitanya because Chaitanya at least had the money in his bank account. Whereas in Sridhar's case, he spent a lot on discretionary income. If we look at the suggestions for Sridhar, we see that it will be different. Like in his case, the most important thing will be to cut discretionary spending. The second important thing would be to build an emergency fund, and then third important thing would be to start an SIP in an index fund. So like I was saying, we can, depending on the financial history of the user, we categorize the users on a basis into different categories, and depending on category, we understand we customize our app as to what kind of interface should the user experience.